Hello everybody and welcome to my workshop, aka the kitchen counter. I don't really know what to post music promo wise, so I'm just going to show you how to fix a PS5 controller with stick drift and make it absolutely bitchin'. Let's hop right in. How's it going, guys? I'm back. I decided to clean off the kitchen counter so it doesn't look like I'm cooking methamphetamine. So let's get to work. Alright everybody, here we are. Today we're going to be taking apart and repairing this purple PS5 controller. I don't really care about the color because the color is going to change. I'm going to put a whole new shell on it, whole new sticks in it, whole new buttons on it, etc, etc. So, alright everyone, let's go over the list of things that you're going to need. Number one, the very first thing you're going to need is a soldering gun. Second, what you're going to need, you're definitely going to want some tweezers. And you're going to need a small Phillips head screwdriver. You're also going to need a pair of pliers. You're going to want some flux paste for the desoldering portion. You're also going to want desoldering wick for the soldering portion. And you're also going to want some Q-tips too. The very last thing you're going to need is a solder sucker. So the very first thing that I start out with is popping these back triggers off. You're going to have 2 screws under these triggers. You're also going to have 2 screws under this little top cover plate thingy. I don't even know what the hell you call it. I might as well just start with this top plate cover. So we're gonna pop that out just using a pry tool. You can use your fingernail in most cases. And there you go. Should pop out just like that. This is what it looks like once we're there. Next thing we gotta do is remove these 2 back triggers. So in order to do that, we are going to press this trigger down. We're gonna use our pry tool, go under, put our finger over the top so it doesn't fly off, and remove them both. Like I told you in the start of the video, I had showed you that my BDM was 30. I have already taken this controller apart. It's already ready to work on. It's already ready to go. But I will just show you where the screws are just so you guys know. One is going to be right here in this top right-hand corner on the right stick, and one is going to be in the top left-hand corner on the left stick. I guarantee you'll see them, you won't miss them. Sorry the camera angle is bad, it's pretty hard to see them in this, so apologize for that. But I guarantee you'll see them and won't have any problems finding them. There's going to be one right here, and there's going to be one right here. And I guarantee you won't miss these either. Once we got that done, we can come right here and start prying our actual controller open. Now, I can guarantee that yours is not going to come off as easy as this one. You do have these 2 tabs in the front right here and right here that you do usually have to pry under with a pry tool in order to pop that off. So usually the way that I do it is if it's stuck on there like that, I usually just pry that other side up, shove my finger in here, and then I take my pry tool and I actually pry these little things, these little tabs right here up. Now that we have the back shell off, I don't think I've tested this controller, so we might as well. Controller turns on, it looks pretty good to me. So here is where we are as of right now. The next step is to take out the battery. In order to take out the battery, you just take it right here, wiggle it back and forth a little bit, and it'll just pop right out. After you do that, there's a single screw in the battery holder. We need to take that out. Do not rip the battery cover off. You will tear this piece, and then you'll have to buy a new one. It sucks, it's not fun. In order to take it off, you just lift it, jiggle it a little bit, and this part should pop out. So in order to pull this out, it's just a little tab. We can just yank it right out. Next thing that we have to do, we have to take out these 3 little tabs. We have to take out this one on the side, we have to take out this top one, and we have to take out this right one. In order to do that, you can use the tweezers, or if your fingers are small enough, you should be able to just pull them right out. And then very last, don't forget this tab. I sometimes forget this tab. I've replaced probably 20 of these by now. They just suck in general, so make sure you take that last tab out too. Alright everybody, so after you've disassembled all your ribbon cables, aka this one here, this one up here, this one right here, this one here, and this one here, you can then get started with the next step. I will tell you, if all you're doing is checking your BDM, all you need to do at this point is just flip this over, and your BDM is going to be in this top left-hand corner. So as you can see right here, it does say BDM 30. Let's start our desoldering process. So you're going to want to take a mental note of where these wires are. Usually what I do is take a picture of them on every single controller just so I remember. But we have yellow on top, green on bottom, black on top, red on bottom. And that's going to be the same thing for both sides. So we need to desolder all 4 of these wires right here. And there we go. Now that we have that done, we can now get to taking out the actual circuit board of the controller. So the one thing I'm going to say before we actually get into all of this is this little part right here in the middle. This thing always seems to fall off for me. I don't even know what it controls, quite honestly. But most of the time, all I do is just take it and I pull it off. And then what I do is super glue it back on later on, double check the sound, make sure it's working, and if it is, I don't worry about it. Anyways, the very next thing you're going to do is remove your sticks from your potentiometers. And now that we are here, we are exposed to our potentiometers. The next thing you're going to want to do is take a knife and remove these little tabs on your potentiometers. You're going to have one on the front and one on the left side on each of them. Toward the end, it should look like this. I would highly advise you not to break these off or bend them too much. If you do, they might snap, and then getting the pins out of the holes is going to be incredibly complicated, so just keep that in mind. So now that we're here at this point, we can actually flip the circuit board over and look at the 32 pins that we have to desolder. I know, that's right, 32 pins. Yeah, this shit sucks, alright? We're going to have to remove this one, these 3 up here, this one in the corner, these 3 right here, this one right here, these 4, and this one. On both sides. And this right here is why people pay me. I'm going to just zoom out while I do this. And you guys can see the pretty fire and all the other cool stuff. So the very first thing I want to say before I actually start the soldering process is PS5 controllers come with lead-free solder on them already, so they have a higher melting point. So you can see my soldering gun is at 400 degrees right now, and that's about the temperature that it takes to melt this solder. So in order to kind of make it a little bit easier for the solder to melt, what I'm going to do is go through and add some of the solder that I have on there right now to these existing ports. I'm not going to add a lot, just a tiny bit, enough to mix it in there. The other thing I should have mentioned to you guys is I would get a wet paper towel if you want to clean off your solder gun. Alright, so the very first thing I'm going to show you guys how to do for the desoldering process is how to take these tabs off. I would take these little tabs off first. They are the biggest pain in the ass for the potentiometers, so in order to do these, usually how I do is I flip them down and I put pressure on this right side. Then what I do is I take my soldering gun and I lay it across these 3 beads right here. And slowly but surely, it will pop right out. Now, I do just want to say one thing. So not 100% sure if you'll be able to see the actual pins of these, but if you look at them and they look like they have copper on them, that's not a good sign. You just destroyed your circuit board. So put your potentiometer parts into your bucket and keep going with the rest of the circuit board. We have 1 down, we got 4 to go. Oh, sorry. We got 1 down, we have 3 to go. So as you guys can see, I have removed all 4 little side pieces to our potentiometers. Now what we're going to do is remove the big portions on the actual circuit board. If you do screw up, right now is going to be the time. This is where you want to be cautious. I would say be very tedious, be very clean, and be very mindful, because it's very easy to screw up your circuit board here. When I do these, I do like to clamp them in a vise. So I do have a vise right here, just a stupid little tiny table vise. So we're going to clamp these in. You don't want to tighten them too hard or anything like that. But we're gonna clamp these in, and then we're gonna get going on the actual soldering process once again. All right, now it's time for the solder sucker. So basically, I have my soldering gun cut. It's cut at an angle. I don't know how well you guys will be able to see it, but it's cut at an angle so that I'm able to place it over my soldering gun and still get good connection. I would not advise you doing this because it might screw up your stuff, but if you're an absolute fucking stud like me, then you can try that out, but if not, good luck. So here's how we use our solder sucker. We are going to take it, we're going to heat up our solder, and we are going to go right over the top, press the button, and boom. So you guys can see exactly what it did. The pins exposed, everything like that. Don't worry about getting all of the solder if you are using the solder sucker. That's what the desoldering wick and the flux paste is for. All right, everybody, here we are. We got our first 16 pins off on this right side. Now what we need to do is go through and put the flux paste on it, and then we're gonna go around with the desoldering wick and just clean up everything, make sure it's relatively clear, and then we can actually remove the potentiometer. This is pretty nasty shit, so I would definitely not ingest this when you're using it. Just don't breathe. That's probably the best advice I can give. People use respiratory protection for this type of stuff, but if you're in a well-ventilated area, aka I have my window open over to the right of me, you should be just fine. So the desoldering wick is pretty easy. You just kind of push it on the pins, go around them in a circle. Just make sure to clean up all that extra solder and stuff like that you left behind. Now what you're going to want to do is clear off your flux paste with a paper towel. Some people use a Q-tip with isopropyl alcohol. I think a paper towel just works fine. I'm not too bougie. So I know you're not going to be able to see this, but I definitely can, so I might as well just explain to you. The reason I'm wiggling it is I am looking to see which pins are already desoldered. Which ones did I fully desolder? Obviously, we did these three right here and these three right here when we took out these little side pieces, so we don't have to worry about these three. But we do have this one here, these four here, and this one here that are still connected. So in order to pull this out, what we're gonna have to do is come through, we're gonna have to desolder these, and I usually like to press the iron to them while I lift them up. And you just kind of want to go in a simple motion, because if you lift these up and they are still connected, there's a pretty good chance that you're ripping out the copper, and then you're screwed. And there we are. That one has been fully removed. Now you're just going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm not going to care to show the other side, so I'll be back in a sec. Alright everybody, we now have removed our old potentiometers, and now we have to install the new ones. So this is usually the time that I actually go through with even more flux paste, even though we cleaned it off, and I actually go through and clean up the holes even more. So now that we have that done, we're going to clean it off one last time. So the next step that we have to do is actually solder our new sticks in. So these are Hall effect sticks. They're powered by magnets rather than friction. So these actually never get stick drift. I install these in every single controller that I do work on and that I do resell. So anytime there's stick drift, I automatically put these in. Doesn't even matter the problem. Even if there is no stick drift, I still take the old sticks out and put these in. So if you actually look at the stick and you look at the circuit board, it just pops right in. Sometimes if it doesn't pop right in, you either have a bent stick, or what can also happen is you didn't remove enough soldering from your portholes. This one, for example, I think is actually due to me not removing enough solder. So now that we have that fixed, we should be able to take our Hall effect stick and just pop it right in there, and it slides right in. Shouldn't take a lot of force. If it does take a lot of force, definitely go back and fix it. This is another time when you can screw up the circuit board, so don't force it in there. So getting the new sticks in is really not too bad. I would say the desoldering process is about 500 times harder. it's much easier to screw up. You really can't screw up soldering. So the only thing that you can really screw up with this aspect is installing the stick curved or lopsided like this, you know, a little bit crooked. So I'm going to show you how to prevent that right now. So here is actually how I completely and totally prevent this. I'm going to take the other joystick and put it in as well. For example, we'll do this right one first. I'm going to do this big right corner first. And then on the left stick, I'm going to do this left corner first. And now what we're going to do is flip it back over, make sure everything's level and looks good. To me, everything looks pretty good, actually. All right, everything looks good. So we're going to resolder everything, and then we'll be done. Literally with just the Hall Effect sticks. Yeah, this is how long it takes. I've been doing this for about 2 hours now. We're going to clean off our soldering gun real quick. Alrighty, here we are. Hall Effect sticks are put in. We can pop our sticks on. And we can put it right back into the controller. So this part's a little bit tricky, actually getting it into the controller. I know it doesn't seem like it, but it really is. The best way to do it is to grab all of these wires at one time and just scoot them right over here. They should just stay there. And then you want to flip this tab down right here and kind of almost slide it in. Now it's time to resolder all 4 of these wires back into their designated places. Now, pop quiz time. Where do they go? If you said, I don't know, congratulations. You're just like me. This is why you take pictures, so you don't forget things. Yellow on top, green on bottom, black on top, red on bottom. And everything looks great. Well, that should be all for our soldering. Now what we have to do is actually go through and test our controller. So we're going to reconnect all these ribbon cables. We're then going to put in our battery holder, put in our one little screw, tighten that bad boy down, and put in our battery. Well, if it turns on, that's a good sign, so there we are. We can now go and test our sticks. The joysticks do work. So as you can see, this joystick on the right is incredibly out of whack. It is definitely not where it's supposed to be. So this is where the calibration comes into play. Both of these should be at around 120 to 125. I would say 125 is pretty much the sweet spot. So in order to do this step, we have to go back in. All right, I'm going to show you guys my desk, but don't give me shit. It's incredibly messy. So the next thing we got to do is actually go through. We have to take out this little battery cover right here. Take out this ribbon cable right here. Take out this ribbon cable right here. And take out this right here, which will allow us to lift out our circuit board, maybe, possibly. There we are. Now comes the super fun, painstaking part called Hall Effect stick calibration. So you see how our right stick right here, it's too far to the right. If you went into a game, your character would be spinning around in a circle right now, so that is not what we want. In order to fix this, what we're going to do is we are going to take our stick and we are going to throw it all the way to the right. There are going to be 2 little holes. Oh my gosh. There are going to be 2 little holes in the bottom of your Hall Effect stick. You have to shove, I usually use a thumbtack, that seems to work well for me, but you have to shove a pin or something small enough to get into this hole into that stick, so when you take it out or when you push it in, it doesn't move. Then what you want to do is take it and move it to the left. There we go. So that one is fully calibrated now. We should be all good to go. We're just going to do the same thing with the other side, and then once I got them all dialed in, I'll show you how I test everything. All right, everybody. We got these pretty much dialed in, so now that we have them all dialed in, now we can work on the actual, the fun part, the customization part. Alrighty, looks to me like everything is working and it's all good. If you do see these triggers going off when I'm not pressing them, it's just due to the D-pad moving. It's nothing really that you ever have to worry about. Now it's time to customize the controller. So I'm actually not going to put in all the buttons or anything like that. I'm thinking I'm actually going to use this controller shell for this one. So I can actually just plop it in right here. So I'm just going to do that right now. So now that we're here, basically to transfer this shell into this whole setup, we need to take this screw out right here. And we need to take out this screw right here. And now what we can do is take it and just drop it right into this one. Now what we're going to do is take everything and we are going to connect them back in. We're going to go into the other area while I show you how to do this. And then, yeah, we can kind of go from there. So I'll see you guys in a sec. Alrighty, boys and girls, here we are. We are now going to customize the buttons and replace the triggers. And yeah, I'm gonna walk you through everything once again. I'm actually thinking I'm gonna switch the sticks. I did end up buying yellow sticks. I didn't use them, but I think I'm going to. So step one, just like last time, we gotta remove this center screw. And at that point we should be able to take this off and just take the sticks out. Once we take out these two ribbon cables on the sides, now we can pop these sticks off and then put the yellow ones on. Now we can pop this right back in just like this. This one is a little finicky, so now we can reconnect all of our ribbon cables. Woohoo, yay! I feel like that looks much, much better, honestly. I really like the yellow buttons too. I think this is just a cool, color scheme. Alrighty, now, time for our triggers. You're gonna have 4 screws on each one of these. You're gonna have one here, which we've already removed, one here, and one here. Now what we can do is pop these little back tabs off. They kind of pop up and to the left, and then we'll be able to see the actual trigger inside. And then what we have to do is take our tweezers and we have to remove this piece right here. We're going to do that on both sides. And now you can remove this little pin right here. Needle nose pliers are definitely the much easier option. So once you have your little metal pieces out, these joysticks should just be able to pop right off. Also, before you install these and everything like that, make sure the BDM is correct. The buttons and the triggers and certain things are very specific to your BDM of your controller. So make sure you got that down. Next thing, we're going to take this and there's little tabs on the front of this. We're going to match up those tabs with this portion right here and then just slide it in just like this. Now what you're going to see is this line up with this, and you can then slide your pin in right here. So now this is what I consider to be the actual toughest part on these controllers, is taking this little thing right here and putting it back in. Test this every single time. Their trigger should be able to go all the way down, and when it's all the way down, it should be able to match up with this very last tooth on this wheel. So right now, if I spin this and put it all the way up, it is working 100%. Now we're going to do the other side. Basically the same thing, so I'm not really going to run you guys through it too much. I'm just going to do it real quick. Now that we have that done, we can now take these covers and put them back on. And now we can put our screws back on. We can now take our battery, put it back in, make sure the controller turns on. Perfect. We can now start installing our 2 ribbon cables right here. So these are pretty easy, relatively, I guess, if you've done this a time or two. Now we can put on our back, and then the front, and then we're done. So the backing can kind of be a pain in the ass, if I'm being honest. Usually how I do is I just slip it in like this, and then keep pressure here, and then just slowly close it. Now what we can do is install all of our screws that we took out at the start. Now that we have our screws in, we can now install our L1 and our R1. You'll see this little slot right here, and you're just gonna dig it into there and then just press it down. There we go, buttons are good. Now, this is a weird one just because this front part right here doesn't have, see the difference in kind of what I'm talking about, where there's no PlayStation logo on this one, but there's a PlayStation logo on this one. So now that we have that in there, now what we can do is take this, shove her under, there we go, and boom, controller's done. So I actually started this video at around 4 o'clock. It's now 9:16, so that should tell you how long one of these takes. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, at least got something out of it. I don't know, maybe it was entertaining. I don't know. It's just a cool process to see, to look over and kind of see how everything really comes together on these. But here she is. Here she is. I mean, it's a pretty good looking controller in my personal opinion. I know the kind of white to gray looks a little bit odd, but I actually really like it. It's got it in the front too. The white is too white for the actual PlayStation white. So kind of interesting, but yeah, really cool controller. I definitely like this one. I like how it turned out. So anyways, that's pretty much it for me. I guess I'll see you in the next one.